morning, everyone. I'm very happy to be here to be talking about some of the latest developments that we've been doing at the Central Bank of the UAE. I'm sure, as most of you are aware, the world of financial services has been undergoing significant changes in the last couple of years, mainly driven by new emerging technologies, disruptive technologies like AI, Gen AI, and big shift in the consumer demand, and of course, more importantly, very agile regulations in different parts of the world. And I'm happy to say that at the Central Bank of the UAE, we haven't been just keeping at par with what's happening. We have been setting the bar very high for other countries to follow in terms of what we've been doing. And we have changed our role from a traditional regulator to an ecosystem enabler. And this is how we're positioning now the UAE as a leader in a digital economy. So let me start by quickly telling you about our strategy, which is in line with the 2031 vision and the UAE National Digital Strategy as well. Now, our objective is to become a top 5 fintech hub in the world, and as a central bank, we are amongst top central banks as well in the world. And so our strategy is comprised of different pillars. Number one is the enhanced regulatory framework. This allows for very, very innovative regulations. We'll talk about this in a bit, about some world-class regulations that we have released just last year. Talent is at the heart of what we do. We've been partnering with leading universities like MIT and Oxford and many, many others to build very bespoke programs for AI and fintech in the UAE. Thirdly is the collaboration that we've been doing amongst two other regulators, amongst the financial services industry in the UAE. So this includes the banks, fintechs, payment companies, exchange houses, broker dealers, and all the other financial institutions. Financial market infrastructure is at the heart of what we do. We've been working hard to future-proof our FMI, our financial market infrastructure, and to ensure that there is, the payments in the UAE and payments across border are seamless and secure, and more importantly, instantaneous. So let me start quickly by saying how we've been trying to put this strategy into implementation. Just last year itself, we have issued 35 bespoke fintech regulations, bringing the total of the fintech regulations at the Central Bank to 10. And these regulations, they vary from open finance, which is the next generation open banking, stablecoins. We do have the first and most comprehensive stablecoin regulation in the world. With buy now, pay later, we do have a clear and very comprehensive chapter around buy now, pay later. And we do have also a regulation for sandbox. We do have a federal law for eKYC. Just to give you focus a little bit on some of these key regulations. Probably these are the most renowned regulations, and these are the regulations that have been getting so much attention, not only locally but globally. They're first of their kind, and they're trailblazers in the way they capture certain regulated activities and, of course, enable innovation in the financial services industry. Just looking at open finance, as I mentioned, this is the next generation of open banking. It gets across some very, very interesting use cases beyond what we've seen in other markets, beyond what you've seen in, for example, Europe, India, Latin America, and many other countries. Same thing applies to stablecoins and to our eKYC platform. I'll start by talking about the open finance. So we've adopted a very unique regime for open finance. It's a centralized API hub where we've learned from other markets, especially in terms of integration issues and technical issues, and we wanted to make sure that fintechs and banks in the UAE can benefit from one single point of integration. So instead of fintechs having to connect with multiple banks or through technical service providers, under the central bank open finance regime, and fintechs in the UAE and banks as well, they'll have to connect to a single point of integration, and then through this they will have access to all the financial institutions that are provided on the platform. Our open finance program goes beyond open banking. We have included use cases in open insurance. We've also included use cases around open foreign currency exchange. And more importantly, we will soon be enabling other use cases, mainly around digital economy use cases such as open wealth management and open capital market. I'll move on to talk now about stablecoin regulation and our stablecoin framework. This is again the most comprehensive stablecoin regulation in the world as of now. Our regulation is becoming a benchmark for other countries to follow, from some European countries to Latin American countries and many other countries. The stablecoin regulation allows for the first time for the issuance of a dirham stablecoin. And so we do have a very comprehensive regime for dirham stablecoin. We do look at different activities from issuance, custody, conversion, and transfer. We do also have a regime for foreign stablecoins, where we think that dirham stablecoin is going to play a very, very important role, not only domestically, but also outside the UAE, especially in use cases related to tokenization, Web3, and of course remittances, and many other use cases. Looking at the eKYC, so we've recently established an eKYC platform, which is going to go live hopefully Q1 next year. We do have a federal law that is already live for eKYC, and what the eKYC platform will help us is to solve a big pain point in the UAE market, and it's the same pain point globally, by allowing financial institutions to cut the onboarding time, especially when it comes to SMEs, from certain cases like around 90 days to just a few hours, if not minutes. The eKYC platform will be integrated with more than 83 golden sources in the UAE, so semi-government entities and government entities, and it will allow all financial institutions in the UAE, from banks to payment companies, regulated fintechs, to download this data instantaneously. And this is going to be a game changer for SMEs in the UAE. Now I'll move on to talk a little bit about the financial market infrastructure. We've been focusing on ANI, it's our instant payment platform. ANI in the UAE allows banks and financial institutions to initiate and settle payments instantaneously. So far we have more than 57 banks on ANI, and currently we're processing around 1.4 billion transactions on ANI on a daily basis. And more importantly, we're going to be introducing new features to ANI, in particular around using biometric data for payments, things like facial recognition, or using your palm to make a payment in the UAE. We're also focusing on integrating ANI with other instant payment platforms. We're going to be making some announcements soon on this, including countries like India and others, to make transform the entire cross-border payment system, where you will initiate and settle the payment between the UAE and any other country, again within a few seconds. Next is our card domestic scheme, J1. I'm sure that some of you may be aware that some of the banks in the UAE have started issuing J1 card. J1 is our own card domestic scheme, and J1 will be soon used on mobile and for electronic transactions. J1 will not only be used domestically in the UAE, but as a card it will also be used overseas by leveraging the rails of the card schemes. The importance of J1 card is that it will help us domestically with financial inclusion, especially for the underbanked and unbanked in the UAE. Now, one very interesting project that we've recently launched is the central bank digital currency, or the digital dirham. And with the central bank digital currency, the digital dirham, we're going live by the end of this year with our retail digital currency, with the digital dirham. We've identified some very innovative use cases. This is going to be part of our ambition on internationalizing the dirham to be used not only in the UAE, but also outside the borders of the UAE. And there's some very interesting use cases that we will be rolling out as part of our retail CBDC program. Things like, for example, using the digital dirham for tokenization use cases, using the digital dirham for what we call smart tourists. And so tourists that come to the UAE, they don't have to bring cash with them. They just download the app, the digital currency app, which will be provided, by the way, for free. And then they can top it up with any bank account or any card they have, and then use the digital dirham for any payments in the UAE. And then on their way out, they can easily redeem or exchange the digital dirham to whatever foreign currency they want, back into their country. So again, there's some very interesting use cases, part of our CBDC program. We're also looking at the programmability of money. If you look at use cases like child and parent support, if a parent, for example, they want to provide give funds to their children, they can be spent on only within certain stores or within certain merchants, then they can do so via the retail CBDC program. Now, of course, collaboration has been probably at the cornerstone. It's been one of the key things that we've been very keen about from day one when we started all of these transformational projects. We've been collaborating with more than 60 central banks from all over the world to help build digital coins. And just to give you an example, if you look at Project Aperta, Aperta is a project that is led by the Bank of International Settlements and the Central Bank of the UAE, FCA in the UK, the Central Bank of Brazil, and Hong Kong Monetary Authority. And of course, now we're opening up the door for other countries to join. Project Aperta aims to create a network for the networks. So we want to connect, our open finance platform with other open finance and open banking platforms across the globe. And more importantly, we want to enable, we want to help UAE licensed fintechs to have access to these different countries by getting access to the Aperta program. And by this, they will have access to a population of 350 million people. And this is our vision on how we can help UAE fintechs not only scale, but also compete globally. Another example is the Average platform. And so far, the UAE banks, along with their counterparts in China and Hong Kong, they've processed more than $7 billion on the Average platform, which is still at an MVP stage. And this is using the digital dirham with their counterparts, mainly for cross-border wholesale payments. Now you may be asking what's next. Of course, it's our innovation hub. Last year, we've launched our innovation hub in Dubai. And the purpose of our innovation hub is not a physical space. The innovation hub of the central bank is meant to be a collaboration space amongst regulators in the UAE, amongst the wider financial services industry. This includes banks, exchange houses, broker dealers, insurance companies, payment companies, and also includes some of the largest big tech companies in the world. It is no secret, by now that most of the largest fintech companies in the world, they either have established presence in the UAE, or they're about to acquire the relevant licenses and set up shop here in the UAE. Just to give you some of the a quick example of some of the opportunities and some of the POCs that we have been working on through this innovation hub. Take for example the recently announced MOU with the ICP, the government entity that looks after the federal identity. We want to start enabling the testing of biometric data for payments. So we want users and citizens, residents in the UAE to make payments using maybe their palm or facial recognition, or it can be through their Emirates ID. There's so much progress happening on this POC, and hopefully we're going to be making some very good announcements soon. Another POC that we're working on is, along with our partners, in terms of adopting some very advanced machine learning and AI models in the banking industry. And this will include looking at use cases where people can get more personalized banking and lending products, but more importantly, for SMEs and for corporates, they can benefit by leveraging their data to have a better understanding over their different accounts and how they can easily shuffle from one account to another. There's also a number of use cases that we're testing through the Innovation Hub, and we're going to continue to test along with our partners, whether it's service providers, big technology companies, banks, financial institutions, and of course fintechs in the UAE and globally. Let me maybe conclude by saying that we want to invite everyone to be part of this journey. Whether you're an investor, you're an entrepreneur, you're a banker, you work in the fintech space, we want to hear from you. We want you to be part of our Innovation Hub. We want to enable all these emerging technologies, and more importantly, I want to close maybe by saying that the future of finance is not just being observed. In fact, it's being built here and now in the UAE. Thank you.